Welcome to the Misophonia Podcast, the only podcast about people who don't like listening to other people. This is episode 5 of season 4. My name is Adil Ahmad, and I have misophonia. Today's episode is really interesting, deals with some pretty intense things. So I just want to warn up front that there is some talk of complex trauma, PTSD, and a few bad words thrown in. But it's a hugely insightful and I think inspiring episode that you're not going to want to miss. I had the great privilege to talk to Mara, a rock artist in North Carolina. We talk about trans issues, dissociation, and reassociation. Like I said, complex trauma, PTSD, her very complex relationship with her family, EMDR, and everything else Mara has learned from her experiences. We also talk about her art, which I just got to say, you got to check out on Instagram at the Rocksmith. There'll be a link in the show notes. And in those notes, you'll also find a few of the books we discussed on the show, plus Mara's Spotify list of a very curated batch of songs that she finds that she considers safe for her miso. All in all, just a fascinating conversation. And if you like her art, you can support by checking out her website and buying some prints. So let's just get started. Here's my conversation with Mara. Mara, welcome to the podcast. It's great to have you here.
It's great to be here. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, of course. So, I usually just like to ask the basic questions about kind of whereabouts are you located?
Chapel Hill, North Carolina.
Oh, okay, cool. Yeah, East Coast. All right. And kind of what do you do over there?
Right now I'm just doing, I'm just cleaning an empty building at night. But during the day, I like to balance rocks.
Yes, right. I've seen, and I'll have pictures of I'll have a link to your Instagram account in the show notes. But some really really fascinating work there. We'll get to your art, and people will have a chance to take a look on Instagram. But you did mention the working at cleaning buildings, and you're far from the only person who has kind of found, I guess, solace in empty buildings at night and where there's no sounds around. So I guess you could probably guess what I'm asking here is was that something you gravitated towards as kind of one of the quietest places to work and times to work?
Yeah, I mean, I've looked at so many other jobs, and none of them really guarantee like 100% of the time that you can wear headphones. I just like having that peace of mind, Like every day I go in, I'm like, I know for a fact that I can wear headphones the whole time.
Right. Even when it's a super quiet building, you put on the headphones just so that you're completely immersed.
I mean, I just happen to be working at night. I wear my headphones most of the day because I'm at home and there's trigger sounds at home. But when I go to work, I can actually take them out for the most part. There's a couple of doors. There's a couple of doors that slam a little too hard, but I've already put bumpers on them, so I kind of.
These are.
I don't know if doors at work. I don't know if I'm outstepping my bounds there, but.
I think you got to do what you got to do. So.
Yeah, I don't think anybody cares.
Right. So that's kind of one of a quiet place that you're able to put headphones on and just kind of be at peace. Have there been other jobs that you've had that have been less than ideal?
Well, my misophonia has really only gotten. I was dissociated. Like I kind of had to shut down emotionally. I didn't do it intentionally, obviously, but I just kind of had to shut down, just from sheer overwhelm of trigger sounds and everything else going on emotionally.
Was this just recently?
I mean, yeah, it's kind of like the volume's been turned up over the past couple of years. Like it seems like I just add trigger sounds every month or so. Well, maybe not that often, but like.
No, I mean that is something that happens is we get more and more triggers as we get older. It seems.
Yeah. You haven't seen Trailer Park Boys, have you?
I don't think I've seen it, but
it's not a very good show. But basically, one of the characters when anything is like kind of bullshit or it doesn't feel right, he says it's fucky.
Yeah, I've probably used that term though before. So things are okay. Yeah, so the volume has been seems like you're more sensitive to all sounds in general.
Yeah.
And is it maybe a bit of hyperacusis in there too? Like, is it kind of all sounds are going up and not just your triggers?
Yeah, so as I reassociate with my body and with, sensory input, so to speak, like before I was just kind of pushing away and ignoring everything, not really dealing with it. Now I'm actually listening to everything and learning to deal with it. So I'm kind of having to, what most people are doing or have already done, I'm learning to do.
Gotcha. And by that, do you mean coping with
Yeah,
misophonia? Or, yeah,
as opposed to just, numbing myself or just shutting down.
yeah. And by shutting down, what do you mean? Were you just kind of avoiding everything?
Avoiding everything, just uh
Self-medicating,
it's
maybe?
yes, it's as if I've been on Klonopin for the past decade or so. I don't know.
And was there something that maybe happened a couple of years ago that had caused everything to turn up, or is it just something that you just
Medication.
noticed?
Yeah,
Yeah.
medication, yoga, meditation, things that are good for you, basically. Things that make you feel, that help
Okay.
you feel.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So that's part of the reassociation. I was curious if there was something going on, like when things started, when the volume started to turn up a lot. Was there any change in your life, kind of thing, around that time, or was it just kind of like a natural increase in triggers as we a lot of us get older?
Yeah, I think they had always been there. I think, or at least that's how I see it. I think the triggers were always there,
Mm-hmm.
maybe, and then I just was not acknowledging them consciously because I simply
Gotcha.
couldn't. There were simply so many. But
Yeah.
now, as I'm reassociating, they're coming to the surface, and I'm able to handle them better,
Yeah, yeah,
more or
yeah.
less.
Right. Are you living by yourself? Like you said, you are
Um,
getting triggered at home. So
yeah, I'm living with my family. It's
okay.
yeah,
And are they aware of your misophonia?
they are. Um, my mom, my mom is pretty good about it. She only uses plastic silverware.
Mm-hmm.
And my grandparents, they let me put because their door just like slams into the door frame.
Yeah.
I mean, it doesn't
Okay.
slam, but everything slams when you have misophonia. Anyway,
Yeah.
so yeah, they let me put a bumper on the door.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. But yeah, I'm sure there's still things that trigger you around the house, and but generally, it seems like they're at least trying. I guess when did you tell them? Like, what did you tell them around when you found out that it had a name?
So I dropped out of college after half a semester because
Couldn't take it.
one, I wasn't really hot on another 4 years of schools to begin with, but also I just wasn't going to class because of misophonia. I couldn't sit in a class, and my dad was like, why are you dropping out of school?" And I told him what was going on, and then he came back to me like, "Oh, you have this." I had no when I
Oh, so he told you, like
my
he
dad
found
told
out
me.
about it.
Yeah, yeah,
Okay.
yeah. Sorry, what
Did
was
you do
that
some?
question?
Had you told them about misophonia? It sounds like your dad told you after you kind of
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
had
yeah.
this conversation. But
Well,
that's
that was okay. Yeah, my mom did when I think I was in elementary school or something. My mom tried sending me to a therapist for it, and they didn't. Obviously they hadn't heard of it. So, and I don't like. My mom was like, she was kind of strapped. She still is kind of strapped, but I think I only went to like one or two sessions, and she was like, okay, they don't know what this is. We're not really getting anything out of this. So
just
that
keep
was kind of
paying
it.
them. Yeah.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Okay. And so you were exhibiting signs like around elementary school. Do you remember like what was going on then? Like were there specific sounds? Was it home mainly?
Yeah, first memory was at 8 years old. So my my misophonia is trauma related. So I have complex trauma in my past. Um,
Hmm.
Sorry, it's just so hard to talk about all this stuff, you know.
No, no,
I
it's
just
okay.
feel
Take
like
your
my
time.
throat.
Yeah.
Yeah. But anyways, but no, like she also has complex trauma in her past, and her past is kind of intergenerational. Um, you know, her parents, uh, who are actually living with us now, they're much more mellowed out now. But you know, when she was a kid, they were just raging alcoholics, so they were just throwing shit around,
Mm,
screaming at each other, and it was just them in like the middle of the woods, basically, like the sticks. And
yeah.
so yeah, she would just go up in her room and like insulate herself emotionally, which is kind of what I've learned to do. But anyways, she picked that up from her parents, the throwing shit around and slamming her fists down and
Mm.
screaming like a wounded animal. Just so that's where it comes from. It's just walking on eggshells. I'm just it's a defense mechanism. I'm just I'm looking out all the time for that to happen.
Yeah, you're looking out for right, the walking on eggshells that has come up in other shows. You're looking for danger that could lurk
Exactly.
anywhere. I mean, a small sound that could set somebody off, and that's could put you in danger, or at least that's what your mind feels.
Exactly.
Yeah, okay. So that started around around a relatively young age, but at least I mean, it sounds like your mom had the presence of mind to at least take you to a therapist and try to get it looked at. Were you also being triggered at school as well, or was it
Oh,
primarily
big
at
time.
home?
Big time.
Because some
I
people not as much. It's kind of a
Yeah,
mixed
yeah, yeah.
bag, but yeah. Hmm.
I can remember seventh grade social studies. My teacher, I think she smoked cigarettes, but anyway, she would just clear her throat the whole class, like every 10 seconds too. I could just remember one class I was just crying in the middle. She was like writing something on the board, and I just start crying. Like everybody stops and turns around and looks at me. I'm like, nobody says
So
anything to me. They just let me cry. And I'm just like,
oh wow, so they would just watch and not do anything.
yeah, nobody's like, what's wrong? Like,
Even the teacher?
yeah, the teacher was just stopped and went back to, I don't know,
Yeah,
what the fuck?
yeah. Is it you remember that specific?
So I did that at a Thanksgiving dinner too. It
So
was
family Thanksgiving dinner,
it was
you
yeah,
triggered, you
yeah.
break
We went to
down.
we went across the street to a neighbor's house to have Thanksgiving, and I was like, I can't do this. I can't sit down at the table. And they're like, oh, you'll be fine. Obviously, I just start wailing. We're all just sitting around a small little table, and I'm just fucking wailing at the top of my lungs. And then after they're like, oh, I didn't understand. I was like, I fucking told you, you fucking
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Wow. And but at that point, I mean, your mom. So this is later on. Your mom knew that something was wrong, but there wasn't really any
I think that dinner
conversation
was
happening.
what might have inspired her to send me to therapy
Yeah.
or try sending me to therapy. At least.
And do you have any siblings?
I do have a sister.
Okay, okay. What's her deal with this? Is she
Oh, she's 12. So there's like a 14-year difference. She's I don't know. She's kind of in a shitty time.
okay? Well,
That's
around
how I
that
put
age,
it.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah. She's not
Interesting.
really interested in how other people feel. So, but
Okay.
it's fine. She uses silverware and she doesn't really make any trigger sounds. So except for the door, she slams the door sometimes. But I've gotten better about.
What about friends? I mean, it sounds like at least that early moment in elementary school, no one was really um, seemed to be concerned when you were crying in class. But how? What about friends as you've gotten older, maybe going through high school? Are they aware? How are they reacting?
Yeah, I pretty much kept it inside for all of high school because I didn't know what it was, and if I tried to tell somebody, they'd just look at me funny. But
Did you try to
um,
tell anybody or try to mention it?
I don't I don't remember if I did.
I mean, based
Obviously, I
on
didn't have
past
a word
experience, I
for it.
wouldn't be, I wouldn't be,
There's
I don't blame you after having, gone through what you did. So,
yeah, there's no way to make them understand.
yeah,
Um, But I do have a misophonic friend now.
Okay.
We're almost like mirror images of each other. They're
How so?
trans, we're trans. I mean, yeah, we're both trans. We both have misophonia. We're both bipolar. We're both probably autistic. Like it's uncanny.
How did you meet them?
We both worked at Jimmy John's together.
Okay. Okay. And how did it? How did you discover that? Well, I'm assuming you probably saw them react to a trigger or something, or I'm just wondering how you guys.
I mean, yeah. So they actually had a misophonia friend. They lived with someone with misophonia before
Ah,
I knew them, so they knew exactly what it was. So they've actually been very supportive from the jump.
gotcha. Okay,
So
interesting. And
yeah,
was it helpful to? Obviously, I mean, you said yeah, they've been supportive, but
okay.
have you been able to, I don't know, commiserate, share tips, and just kind of, help each other through?
Yeah. I mean, we commiserate. I don't know. I can't really. They have a auditory thing where like if they listen to brown or white noise, they just get completely disoriented. So it's kind of like
Oh,
they can wear headphones, but it's almost as bad as just hearing the sound itself. So they're kind of SOL in that department.
oh wow. Okay, that's
So
interesting.
so yeah, I can hear them. I can listen to them bitch about something, but that's the extent.
And they had lived with a misophonic friend before. That's also random. I mean, that's like
Yeah,
it's random that you found a mirror image and then that they already knew about it through somebody else
yeah.
that had misophonia. That's interesting.
I realized something. This doesn't have anything to do with misophonia, but when I was working at Jimmy John's, there were five trans people working there at the same time out of like, I don't know, 20, 30 people. Which I thought was interesting.
That is, yeah, I would suspect it's a slightly higher percentage than in overall society. That's interesting. Yeah.
Yeah.
When you were saying that you were disassociating, was that kind of related to all of these things that you've been experiencing? Uh,
Yes.
the misophonia, the
Yes. Yes.
transition. I'm just
Yes.
curious, like, do you notice any? I don't even know how to ask the question, but did they kind of like compliment, not compliment, but tell me how you think they're kind of related. Maybe I should kind of ask that.
Oh, yeah. They're just like, I'm standing in an empty vat and they're all just like giant uh, tubs being poured in, you know.
Mhm.
My feet are just chained to the bottom of the vat and they're all just like filling up.
You feel like you're kind of drowning from different directions or from different sources. Yeah.
That's how they are relate right
Yeah.
there.
I interviewed somebody who's also an LGBTQ advocate, and he had said that reviewing his misophonia was there was some similarities between that and revealing that he was gay. I'm wondering if is it something that you find it's like it's similarly hard to talk about.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. I don't know.
All the
I don't
above.
know. I don't know objectively which one is more difficult to talk about, but
Yeah. Um, okay, so then you've had that. Wow. So you had that the Jimmy Jones work experience at college. So I guess yeah, since college, what have you just kind of been finding jobs to work at
yeah,
since college and then supporting your art? Maybe we should talk about how you got into your art and is that in any way kind of like therapeutic? Because I've had a bunch of artists on the show who've kind of
yeah,
found therapy through their art. Maybe we
yeah.
could talk about that.
Yeah. So just finding, ping ponging around jobs. A lot of those jobs I couldn't even work anymore. That was before I reassociated with, you know, myself. Like I couldn't work in a restaurant, and I could not drive a
Yeah.
car. I could not be in a small space with no music for someone for 30 plus minutes.
Right. So it couldn't be like an Uber or Lyft driver. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And I couldn't deliver on a bike for Jimmy John's anymore because fucking car sounds. I don't think I could do any of my previous jobs except for maybe my last one because they let me wear headphones. But even then, I could hear the boss through my headphones. That's how fucking
Mhm.
annoying she was. I don't
So
want to do
wait,
this. I don't want to do the thing because it'll might piss somebody off. But
Yeah. So when you were working at Jimmy John's, you knew you had misophonia, but was it triggers that you were able to manage, or was it more that
Yeah, it was
okay,
mostly people sounds. It wasn't. I didn't know about, or I didn't have the car sound affect me yet.
okay, okay, and then since you've reassociated, it's been everything's kind of been turned up.
I guess it's the better analogy is just a bunch of faders for each trigger sound. Each sound has its own volume dial. I guess I don't
Yep, yep, yep.
know.
Are you a musician by any chance too? You're talking fader
uh,
mixing, so
no, no.
yeah, okay.
I
Um,
well, speaking of music, I have a very I have about 130 songs I can listen to.
and that's
Well,
it.
give or take 150. My therapist says I'm like probably autistic, and as I'm reading the symptoms of autism, I'm like, yep, probably. But yeah, one of the things she was saying was like a safe list of foods, like certain textures. So I was thinking that was similar, like, safe sounds essentially. Because I can listen to a song and like 1 second in, I'm like, nope,
Yeah.
fuck that sound.
Are there any specific sound, or was it like the trigger,
Yeah,
like a guitar or a
yeah, like
percussion
yeah, fret sounds, like fingers sliding over the
squeaking?
strings.
Yeah.
Yeah, like timpani sounds.
Oh, okay. Those are low frequency, but that rumble.
Yeah, well, it depends. Like if it's really low, I can kind of stand it, but I don't know. It really just depends.
I'd be interested in seeing it. I'm sure others might be who might be able to relate or are looking for songs that are
Yeah.
definitely less chance of triggering.
Has anyone mentioned the safe and sound protocol to you?
No, what is that?
Uh, I forget who the doctor is. Just search safe and sound protocol.
Yeah.
Basically, they take popular music and they tune it. I'm not sure how they tune it. I think they keep it like within the mid range frequency. So, whatever they do to it, basically, you just listen to it for an hour a day for a week, and then you can, do more if you want. But a week is really enough. A week will do you for like, you know, obviously you can come back to it, but it's I don't know if you've ever heard of EMDR or heard anyone talk about it, but EMDR really fucks you up, and safe and sound protocol is no different. Basically, it kind of reprograms how your brain processes sound. That's how I understand it. It's
Are,
really
so are-
fucky.
yeah.
Really
So
fucky.
are you doing EMDR with your therapist?
I was doing EMDR until I found out I was trans, and then I was like, I cannot do both. Yeah, I was exploring all that trauma I was talking about, um, and I was really making strides. I think that's until I cracked open the transgender can.
Gotcha.
Yeah,
Did that come as a surprise that particular can got opened?
it's been poking its head out here and there. My friend, the miso friend I told you about, who's also trans, they said to me, a couple of times you would mention, "Hey, what do you think about me being trans?" You would say that to me, and sorry, this is the friend saying this, and then I would say, that, they would mention it back, like they would try to bring it up a second later, like, "So you're thinking about being trans?" And then I'll be like, "No, don't talk to me about that."
Okay, okay.
That makes sense. Yeah, I kind of told it
So
poorly,
did,
but
no, no. So did
I
it?
would
Did
bring it
you
up, and yeah, I would bring
to
it up,
them?
and they would ask me about it, and then immediately I would just like a steel trap to a shot, like, no, I don't want to talk about it.
Okay, so did they kind of raise their eyebrow and be like, there must be something kind
Yeah, yeah.
of defensive going on
Oh
here.
yeah, for sure. They took me to they go to NC State, and they took me to the person who is like the advocate on campus for LGBT people, and yeah, I just could not look that person in the eye the whole time I was in the office with them. I couldn't look them in the eye, and I couldn't listen to what they were saying. It was just so uncomfortable for me. That was before, obviously, before I'd come to the realization. But no,
Yeah, sure.
it's just been poking its head out.
So as that was so that was happening, that kind of realization was happening around the same time as you were seeing your therapist for EMDR, and were they treating you for misophonia generally at that point, or was it other things?
Well, do you know how EMDR works?
It came up in a previous podcast, but I want to see if you could, yeah, maybe kind of
Yeah.
give us the executive summary again.
Basically, you pick a memory or memories that are traumatic to you, and you revisit them. And the way you do that is, you write it down. Um, Basically, you kind of write or workshop it. You pick out all of those senses. Like, so I was smelling this, I was seeing this, I was hearing this, and then you read that prompt to yourself, and you kind of, you can close your eyes. What I like to do is, kind of hang my head down, close my eyes, and like tap my forearms, um, and just so the memory that I picked was my mom eating, kind of piggishly. I think she was trying not to cry or something. You know, this is something that she would do a lot. She would come home from work like just completely carrying all the baggage from her entire life, basically,
Yeah.
because she doesn't know. She wasn't ever really taught how to deal with it. Anyway, so she would come home, eat, basically emotionally eat in front of me, just silently pissed off, and I would just be sitting there like trying not to make any sound for fear of, setting her off essentially. But anyways, that's so that just happened so many times. That's just like an aggregate memory that I condensed down into. So yeah, I would just revisit that. So I guess technically I was working on triggers. I haven't seen any decrease in sensitivity to sound, but my ability to handle the stress that results from hearing a trigger sound has improved significantly. I can handle the stress of the sound, just not the sound, if that makes sense.
So the recovery from the trigger has been better for you, like being able to
Much,
get back
yeah,
to
much,
normal.
yes, yes. As long as I can get away from it. If I, it's like, it's like a hot object on your hand.
That's a great analogy. Yeah, no,
Yeah,
I know exactly what you mean. It's like you get triggered, you can run away from it, but you're still, you still touch that hot object.
yeah,
You're feeling it. And it seems like that exercise. I don't know how do you refer to that exercise, or that therapy seems to have made your kind of your senses recover faster.
yeah, yeah. You can actually do that by yourself, that technique. Basically, you can do it uh, multiple ways. You can tap your arms. Basically, you need bilateral stimulation, so you need to tap the left side and the right side, like alternating. Or you can look side to side with your eyes. Just make sure you go to the edge of your peripheral vision. Um, you pick out what's called a positive cognition. So for every memory, you find the negative cognition, which is, I am not safe, or I am not worthy of love, or whatever the negative emotion is that the memory makes you feel, and then you flip that. So I am safe, I am worthy of love, and then you just uh, at the end of each session, you're saying to yourself that phrase, and you're doing the taps or the eye movement, and it recognizes how you feel about the memory. So that's something that you can do in and of itself. You don't even have to do the whole EMDR thing.
Is that something that you're
Uh,
still doing?
I still do that, yes. Just
How
that.
often do you how often do you do that?
Whenever I feel a negative emotion, and I remember to do it, I don't always
Gotcha.
remember to do
Yeah.
it, but um, have you read any of Thich Nhat Hanh?
No.
Okay. Um, so one of the things that Thich Nhat Hanh recommends, I think it's the heart of the Buddha's teaching. Um, it might be in like the first 10 chapters. That's all I read of his book. But in the one of the techniques he recommends is recognize, accept, and embrace. So this really only works if you're away from a trigger sound and you can close your eyes. It's kind of quiet. You can, just chill out for a minute. Um, you say, I recognize that I'm upset. I accept that I'm upset. It's okay for the upset feelings to be here. And then you're essentially you're anthropomorphizing your negative emotion. You're saying you're treating it like a
Like a person or something.
like a small upset child. Basically, you're like, come here, give me a hug. It'll be okay. You're safe now. And this is where I combine the two. I combine that technique and the EMDR technique, and I say, I do the positive cognition thing at the end during the embrace part. And
Wow,
then I do the
that's
eye,
pretty
I do
intense.
the, yeah, I do the eye
Yeah.
movement too. And then when I first started doing this technique, I would just cry, just the
Yeah.
recognizing and accepting and embracing part, without even the EMDR part. I was just doing that alone. I would just, I would just start crying because
Well,
there
you're
was so
opening up
much,
quite a few doors. Yeah,
yeah,
exactly.
there was so much unprocessed negative emotions from, you know, I didn't even mention the neglect. There's the neglect aspect because, my mom is she's a single mom. She works full time and she hasn't dealt with her own emotional baggage. So she's essentially absent emotionally, not intentionally. She's just, you know, she's not able to be emotionally present. So essentially, I'm like an orphan being raised by a single mother, if that makes sense.
Yeah. So you share a house, but she's not really able to give you,
Emotional
the
validation
right
or love.
express. Yeah.
Yeah, it's fucking. There's so much going on.
Can I ask,
There's
like,
all the things going on. What do you think?
yeah, like, I'm curious, like, what is the relationship like? Like, you come home and, you guys
This
eat together, and
we haven't had a
I
family
mean, that's gonna be
dinner.
tough with
I
the
haven't
phone.
I haven't had a family dinner with her since like middle school, I think.
Gotcha.
And
Okay.
yeah, yeah,
You guys do anything together, like travel or,
yeah. Just recently, in the past couple of months, I'd say we started walking in the mornings. So it's only in the past year that I've started like being respectful towards her. And I mean, not that I
and
wasn't at all, but I would just like now it's you know almost entirely respect and love between us. Whereas before it was just like we're fucking strangers to each other.
were you reacting to her in any way, like acting out maybe due to this phone,
Oh,
due to
for sure.
neglect, or?
Yeah, for sure, for sure. Even now, I don't always feel safe around her. Like it's still kind of tense. Like I really like to cook with her now because I can play music and we can bond.
Okay, that's
When
good. Yeah.
Yeah, whereas before we weren't really bonding over anything. And I a couple times, we're really getting into it. We're like singing to the same song. I'm like washing dishes or whatever, and she's like chopping up some vegetables, and I just start crying because it's like the only time that I know instinctually that she cannot be mad at me. Whereas the rest of the time, I don't know for a fact. I don't know intrinsically that she's not mad at me. Like intellectually, I may know, okay, she's just watching TV. She's cool, but like it's like so deeply ingrained this defense mechanism that I don't. I'm just always on edge because I don't know if she's gonna like.
Yell
She's
or
she,
act out,
she's
or,
just, she's just
get
a
upset
volcano
on her.
person. She's just a volcano personality. So it's like, fuck, it's like a therapy session for free.
Yeah. Hey, man, and this is I'm sure you're not the only one who kind of experiences stuff, and I'm super grateful that you're able to talk about it. So
Yeah, thanks for listening.
yeah, no, and any time after. I mean, yeah, if you ever need someone to talk to. And your sister's living with you too,
She is being shitty.
so that doesn't help your mom's. So
No,
is she also careful about, is she understanding at all about her setting off, your mom,
not
or is
really.
it really just it's all on your shoulders kind of thing, and everyone else is other
Wait,
moms,
what?
how?
Sorry, what was the question? I spoke.
I don't know what the question was. It was more like, yeah, is she respectful at all of, like, maybe the situation at home, or are you kind of the only one
Nah.
who's kind of walking on eggshells?
My mom and my grandparents are pretty respectful. My sister is not really
Hmm.
respectful, but she's also not triggering me very much. She might close the doors too hard or things like
Right.
that. But
I'm just curious if you're noticing that is your mom gradually, slowly feeling better? And the next thing I was going to ask is I was curious to see
Well,
how much your
let's take
misophonia is
that one
tied into
first.
your mom. Yeah, yeah, sure.
Misophonia is definitely tied to my mom. I don't know if she's getting better. She's not throwing tantrums like she used to. She was throwing a lot of fucking tantrums
Yeah,
when I was a kid, and but she's not doing that anymore or as much. Um, she's still got a lot going on though. There's a lot under the hood that she's not looking at, and
mm,
I've asked her like dozens of times, like you need to see a therapist, you need to see a therapist, but it's just she's left it for so long, and she has to
yeah,
work so much that even just to crack it open it's just gonna smell really bad, and I don't think she wants to deal with it.
gotcha. It's interesting that you're quite lucid and kind of self-aware. Where do you think has that come from? Um,
That comes from her working so hard and me being able to not work as hard because she works so hard.
Gotcha. So you have more time to kind of think.
At least with the
Yeah.
pandemic, I don't have to. I don't know if I would anyway. I'm able. I have a lot of time to sit and process.
And you're obviously reading stuff. Yeah, I want to get that book that you mentioned. So I'll stick that in the show notes as well. It sounded really interesting.
I got a couple books if you want.
Yeah, yeah, that'd be cool. Yeah, anything that's kind of in and kind of informed your thinking and your coping would be interesting.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. So the one we already talked about was The Heart of the Buddhist Teaching by Thich Nhat Hanh. The other one was The Body Keeps the Score by Bessel van der Kolk. That's about trauma. And then The Complex PTSD Workbook by Ariel Schwartz. That's also about trauma, but trauma over an extended period of time. And it helps you, it gives you like writing exercise.
Yeah,
I can only nibble at them now because
yeah.
I just hit a wall with it.
But maybe let's talk about your art. We'll have obviously links, as I said, in Instagram. But you want to talk about your rock art?
Yeah. It's, it's therapy, it's art, it is an opportunity to get into nature, it's meditation.
One
It's a
thing
lot.
yeah,
You can practice gratitude, you can practice joy, focus, being present, And if I have a good time doing it afterwards, I just feel weightless, kind of.
hmm
I just feel like I don't know. I just kind of like stroll loosey goosey down the sidewalk, just like kind of flapping my arms. I
yeah.
guess not flapping, but you know what I mean.
Do, do you do it intentional? Like you're okay, you're like, I'm going to build this piece and on this specific day, or is it just like if you're going through a rough time, you
Uh,
stop and build
when I first started, I think I just started EMDR, and it was like everything was super rough, and I was definitely like staying out all day, just like I was, I guess, balancing my feels. People say eating your feelings. I guess I was balancing my feelings.
I was going to
Not sure
say,
where I was going with it.
well, that's fine. I was gonna mention that just the nature of pieces where there's rocks balancing in seemingly difficult um, poses or what have you. It kind of is somewhat of a metaphor to what you're probably feeling inside, where you're balancing so many things.
Yeah.
Am I just reading too much into it or making some stupid
No. I mean,
interpretation?
yes, everything is very precarious.
Yeah, yeah, it's fascinating.
I think if I had to work full time, I would not be as lucid or handling everything as well as I am. So I definitely have my mom to thank for that. But sorry, you go ahead. You go ahead.
No, I was gonna say that's yeah. You just expressed some gratitude right there. It's these kinds of things that are yeah. I want to talk about more of the gratitude and joy that you feel doing these pieces. Like, is it while you're doing them? Is it when you're looking back at them or thinking about the art? I'm just curious how your mind
Yeah, joy in
operates.
the moment, gratitude for having the opportunity just to be there and do that thing. Gratitude for my mom for working so hard so I have all that time to be there. Gratitude for the creek itself for being there, the rocks and everything. Gratitude because I put a tip jar out for people walking by. So gratitude for whoever wants to donate to my art. Um, and then, obviously focus. You need a lot of concentration, and joy because it's just fun to do it, but not always. Sometimes like when I start introducing the camera, when I bring the camera into the mix, there's a there's a chance of losing the joy because I'm worried about what the shot is going to look like. You know, I'm
Hmm.
worried about what it looks like aesthetically as opposed to just having fun making the structure.
Right. Yeah. Suddenly you're thinking about other what other people's feelings would be, as opposed to kind of focusing on yourself.
Exactly. Yeah, and
Interesting.
I even without the camera, like I still when I first started, I would balance kind of out of the way. Like I wasn't too concerned with people walking by. I guess what I'm saying is I could balance off the beaten trail, like in the woods or something, and that would be enough for me. But now it's like every time I go out, I need to be in a place where people will see me, and I need people to I need people to look over at the thing I'm making so badly and like
Is this for validation, you think?
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Recognition?
I mean, I just have so much going on. It's like hard not to.
Do people come and reach out and talk to you and communicate and
Yeah,
ask about
yeah,
the, yeah.
yeah, for sure. I've got a sign too that answers a lot of their questions. Otherwise, I'd have to stop what I'm doing the whole time.
What do you put on the sign? I'm just curious. Is it
You know,
specifically about
it's
your work or anything about your story?
uh, I kind of shoehorned my story in there. Like I typed it up and it says, you know, this is my work, this is how it works. You know, here's my websites and all that stuff. And then kind of at the bottom, it just says like, P.S. I changed my name to this.
Yeah, yeah.
So,
Right.
but I did mention misophonia on there because some spots it's right next to the road. Like this
Mm.
one spot is it's a super sweet spot, like really beautiful rocks, and it's right next to the trail. But on the other side is the road. I can't really take my headphones off, so I put that on there. Like I cannot take my headphones off. I have a disorder.
Yeah,
Do
yeah.
not ask me.
Right, right. And don't trigger me. Um,
Yeah.
Interesting. And where do you see do you where do you want this to? I'm assuming you do want this to grow. Do you want to pursue this full time if you can?
Ideally,
Yeah.
but it's been slim. I think my best day I made like 48 bucks in tips, but that was also like just after stimulus checks and like kind of right after Trump had lost. So I think everybody was feeling good.
Yeah.
I think that was a fluke. Like yesterday, I just made $4. It was a Sunday. I feel like, and it really just depends, location and time of day and weather and everything. So
I feel like I can probably talk quite a bit more, but we're getting to about almost an hour. So I don't know if is there something in your notes or something that you wanna really kind of get out there that maybe we haven't already talked about.
I probably have sensory processing disorder too.
Yeah, sensory processing disorder. So are there other? I guess I just assumed that you had visual triggers, but are there other senses that kind of trigger you?
Yeah.
Feelings, touch,
Well,
texture.
I guess not trigger, but something that really bothers me is like a sticky substance on my fingers.
Mm,
Like I don't know. Like if I'm doing something where my hands are continually getting sticky, sometimes I'll find that I go and rinse my hands off, even though as soon as I come back to the task, my hands are just gonna get sticky again. Like it's also like bright lights. I've noticed turn
okay, some
signals.
I don't know much about autism, but it's sounding like
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
some overlap there.
yeah.
Gotcha.
Yay!
Not that you haven't, not that you don't already have enough to think about. Yeah.
I made a meme about it. I don't know if you've seen the show. I can't remember what the fuck it's called. But anyways, this guy was like holding something on fire, and he's. So I'll give you the setup. The caption is when your therapist tells you that you're very likely autistic, but you're already trans, bipolar, and misophonic, and then he's holding the thing on fire and he's saying, "I'll just put this over here with the rest of the fire."
Right. Yeah, well, this has been great. Unless, yeah, this is, I don't know if there's anything else you want to share, but I think, yeah, this has been really useful. I think people are going to get a lot out of this and I want to thank you again, Mara, for coming on, and we'll have links to everything in the show notes. And if anyone's in North Carolina, please go and check out these pieces.
Well, thank you, Adil. Thanks for doing this show.
Thank you so much, Mara. Incredible conversation. If you enjoyed that, please follow Mara on Instagram. Please leave a quick review or just hit the 5 stars wherever you listen to this podcast. You can find us on social media at Misophonia Podcast on Instagram and Facebook, and now on TikTok, or at Misophonia Show on Twitter. Music, as always, is by Moby. And until next week, wishing you peace and quiet.